This is a story that reflects our own. At this critical intersection of our journey in which, now more than ever, the influence of the heart must be heard. Heed must be taken. For we are at a bifurcation point, where not only our collective growth and ascension, but our very survival is at stake.
Our very survival is at stake. Our very survival is at stake.
The following record speaks of dreams and visions, truths and deception, the shifting power dynamics of the inner and outer experiences, and otherworldly visitors. I implore you to listen to this open mind and heart. Follow your own intuition and know that although at times it may seem bleak in the world around you, the path on which you travel is directed by you and you alone. As each one of us has our own pathway to traverse in this river of time, which may or may not be the same as those around you. So no matter how daunting the obstacles in front of you may seem, or however impossible the task you face, go on. Let your inner light shine, and over these mysteries of various depth and dimension prevail. The following record speaks of dreams and visions, truths and deception, the shifting power dynamics of the inner and outer experiences, and otherworldly visitors.
Schrödinger is not talking about a literal cat. It is an analogy, a metaphor, to explain that at the fundamental basis of our existence is some uncertainty that till an observation is concretely in the past, and we all exist, so there is a possibility
Honestly, we're at most ever even only probably there. Time is an illusion. When you zoom in it gets all really weird, chancing on the quantum mechanics that we're all living here. I'm not saying so to scare, but just so you're aware that when you polish off that Mater sandwich or the juiciest pear, that it's some electrical pathway in the brain that make the sensory appear, and until you observe it, it's not really there. Out of a cloud of possibilities, an experience that we could all share, but it could be really God wearing 3D reality goggles that grow skin and hair. The Matrix makes a point, maybe Truman Show in old Plato's cave, entirely encapsulated by dark space housing heart and brain that tells you it's an amazing meal on the taste buds that you feel. Out of the potentialities, one definite congealed, and you'd swear that it's real. But still, the actual mechanisms say it's only a maybe, regardless of how well the organic homegrown taste appeal. It's a strange universal field. In this plane, everything isn't as it seems on the outskirts of a twilight zone in your dreams. Even weirder is the fact that when you bite down, the atoms don't even touch when you hear that crunching sound. Just the electrons meeting in the middle, halfway. But still, that's enough to send a signal to your brain that say you did a good job helping that garden grow. Some 90 odd days ago, when the wind did blow and the sun shone down on you hot while you dug up that hole and put a seed in the ground with a sliver of hope that was also only ever even probably there. But I promise when your little baby eat it that they do not care. They'll have a big smile and say thank you, and that I'll tell you is an energetic connection in which nothing is more real. It's weird, it's rare. Now is a precious opportunity to be experienced.
The probability of the future collapses into a precise outcome of the past. The moment of now is where this uncertainty is decoded. The moment of now.
Don't mortgage your future, put the work in now. That's the glue here. You only really get the right now anyways. Time, a series of picture frames laid out by the brain. And it became a favorable condition. If the past a memory, the future a prediction, then one can learn to move through the contradiction with a fulfilling sense of purpose and conviction. Don't gotta convince anybody, we're bound to make a contribution. The soul on a journey, exhuming and resuming the confusion. The allegory of the cat, both alive and dead in the illusion of time passing by. The dynamic denying any ultimate conclusion. And if you can't alter their perception or their trajectory, it may just be another part of the lesson. And Einstein said that God doesn't play dice, but the quantum mechanics predicate there's only a probability you're even here anyways. Many worlds that unfurl, go and frolic in the field of potentials infinite, spreading an earnest zeal that it's real, really real. May not be, but it's what we feel. Got a tuning fork humming here, got a perfect turning wheel. The number of possibilities is unreal. Hummingbird, golden eagle, dodo bird, kiwi, seagull, pelican, peregrine, ostrich, bluebird, emu. Out of the waveform unknown, one definite potential scene though. Rich, poor, smart, not, goth, jock, prep, punk, emo. Just a different label for the same people that are spiraling out of the same ether with the same chances that we're not even here. Walking around in all bubbles of quantum fluctuation. Until you look really closely you don't notice, cause they mostly agree. Double slit waveform goes left, right, both, and neither. But you, I, and Schrodinger all want that cat to be breathing. It's weird. It's rare. Don't take it for granted, this chance to be a body animated by spirit. Listen up, when a good balance given love. Gift of the rhythm in the heartbeat infinite. Written in the energetic signature given up. And watch the butterfly effect emerging from the chrysalis. Time is relative to the observer. On a multidimensional axis operating as a server. If you're toiling frivolous in a fervor, take a second to listen within to the perfect interior. The world here a mirror clear or cloudy depending on how we deliver work. Settle down and sit and look at the underside of your eyelids if you're fighting with the vitriol. If you don't, who knows, at the moment pivotal, you may not agree with the reaction that result. The traction that is lost could have helped when all is stacking up. Clues hiding in the eminent intelligence. Subatomic, atomic, chemical, electromagnetic, gravitational. Expounding as platonic solids in golden ratios. Congratulations that you get to traverse this envelope. As microscope, so telescope. Remember to listen to heartbeat like stethoscope. It told your car seat holds the most precious gift ever known. A billion tiny atoms and a million little molecules building some dozen organs in one prolific hue. Exploring infinite options down a timetable that on tempo evolves based upon the decisions that you choose. Excavating a path through an impregnable jungle of rotating facts that jumble up the hubbub. Gotta condition your faculties to guide with reason and find a thread between seemingly illogical pretense to bring you exactly into the present from the setup, moving into a future with supposed outcome definite. But in the moment when making the critical decision, you can only observe a waveform of future developments, each occurring with rates of various probabilities, but that doesn't help much when consoling past defeats. So make sure to listen to your heart right now, and do not ever hate, conspire, or deceive, or else woe to those who chose to grow away from the spirit, forsaking the soul, forsaking us all as we tumble and fall. That actions reverberated all wrong. When into the mist we jumped from our lofty heights, forgetfulness comes and fogs up our mind. The process evolving with time to unclog and remind, but only after the longest of whiles. To remember once again, but much later. Thus began the soul's endeavor to cross the desert of millennia in effort to conjure a connection to that which you come from. Yet along the road it was never once undone. Among the many remain one. But until till fulfilled around the setting sun, revolve again and under forgetful slumber succumb. Blind, deaf, dumb. What happened to the spirit, they will question and ask, because so quiet in their ears it would whisper that they won't hear and grasp. And tragic as under the circumstances they felt, no longer presence felt nor essence distilled. Eventually silent unrest once wiped out the conscience and compromised the self. As the circle goes, the dip must come. But what could we learn on our day away from the sun? What is there to know? A curious lot. A lot it sure is once the spirit forgot.
In the cycles of rising and falling, there is not a mandate that the cycle continues. Therefore, this was a critical moment where, if an upward trajectory was to be sustained, the descending portion of the cycle must be broken, and yet, downward again the path began.
If you keep it on the low, you're still reaping what you sow. You know the Grim Reaper really already know. Your address, social, every line of code on your phone. Your mother's maiden name and the first pet that you owned. You got that data encrypted, password protected info. Yet the night's still dark as it is cold. So when death knocking at your door, it's only at the loudest decibel. That's how the soul turns lead into gold. Transfigure darkness into something valuable. Trying to do the best of the current with this life that you hold. Cause you don't know if you get pulled under riptides tomorrow. Riding on the stormy seas of misinformation and corporate greed. In their fortress, many portions that aren't yours to eat. If they had their way, then you'd never get a fortune seen. Because the poor get enforced into the war machine. But the stockholders get their dividends, so I think this course will keep. Said the Grand Poobah, self-appointed High Lord of everything. And now we're free, said the landlord shepherd to the horde of sheep he's about to eat. You see some new facts, be ready to adapt. Life is like a game of basketball, gotta read and react. Peace in the present, built from knowledge in the past, inferring towards a future but an unknown path. So if you see some new facts, be ready to adapt. Life is like a box of chocolates, never know what you're gonna get. Want the blessings, not hardships, getting both lessons and tests. Hope you can tell the difference between which is which. Energy and your precious heart gon' lead you better. I pray all your negative attachments severed. Remember, they only got a lease on the leverage, so when your time comes, go and get it. Mainstream media just disclosed aliens. Most people like, okay, but how does this help me pay the rent? Their own mental structure, but changing labyrinth. And also the Minotaur charging, chasing them to the bitter end. As scared of failure as they are of success, because they let other folks' ideas define it for them. Life doesn't have a training course you can try and attend, nor a user's manual for the heart and mind's ascent. One has to find a way to hold the spiritual in the same hand as the mundane. Some days get blessed by the sunshine and rays, and others torrential downpour in the crying rain. Alight the heart when you transform the alignment, change the blinding pain into the highest gain. Alright, okay, but don't try to live the whole life in a day, because the finish is a graveyard since y'all trying to race. The final page is unknown, it resonates based on the plight you face. This time is mighty strange. So keep a pivot, foot locked and loaded. Lots of miracles and mirages remain. You see some new facts, be ready to adapt. Life is like an ever-evolving game of chess, trying to take the best steps, but what the heck is coming next? Keep your head on a swivel, looking up, down, right, and left. And if you see some new facts, be ready to adapt. Life is a perfectly wrapped, tight, unknown gift. What's next, the aliens or the raising of the rent? Who knows? Gotta stay on your toes, how this story commence. They put a thin layer of gold over everything as it's decaying. The same as the deceptions believed in good faith. Disclosure from a new Gilded Age. First comes peace of the mind, from there grows peace of the body. First comes peace in the society, from that stems the peace of the country. Beware the pride and the greed of the power hungry, a far greater threat than that of some foreign enemy. Far greater threat. Claws closer to the neck. Have you ever seen bomb drop out of the plane? No, you're never gonna see your family again. Have you ever seen bomb drop out of the plane? No, you're never gonna see your family again. Not a sucker, I'm a seeker. Why they're still building weapons to kill that many people? What's the reasoning for this destructive group behavior? Put it through a committee for a job, people will do whatever. To their respective identities, most people become tethered, and they will put you in the dirt if they believe that will protect it. Whether that be country, race, creed, sexual orientation, or gender. Once the attribute of ways of personhood is about to get effed up. If I were an alien, I would not come here on vacation. If there were a situation, I'd be in disguise or spaceship. Go right to the source of this magnificent creation, but looking closely at your own self, a flowering out that is sacred. The micro and the macro build on identical foundation. The only difference is how it spirals out into the spaces. Heart going 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, fluttering in Fibonacci sequence. Universe is unraveling its secrets, but peace internal and external are prerequisites, not the apex. Not a sleeper, I'm a dreamer. People waking by the hundreds of thousands, they want us drowsy for eons. UFOs disarming nukes at the silo, they're operating at a higher level, they do not need the codes. Meanwhile, we no longer have our eyes closed, asking why you want to go to war to line your homes in gold and pave the streets in the blood of the ones that we love. They'll take advantage of us until this action will shut. I mean, do we really gotta toss all peace aside and say that's just the opera? Maybe there's another option to solve a problem with our neighbor without dropping bombs on them. We have an Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, FBI, CIA, and now what? They're gonna send folks into space as an excuse to make more guns.
Where did this descent into darkness start? What is the fundamental nature of your being? The various forays into confusion unbound muddles the lens through which the perfect spirit sees. And again, forgetfulness is upon us.
Fractal holograph, sci-fi polymath polygraph. Government hides the Roswell crash, if you wanna call it that. Shot down, JFK, Bob Marley got us wailing. MLK, Malcolm X, Epstein with a bunch of presidents. George Bush did 9/11. Cheney without a spine made enough bread to feed all kinds of peasants when they conspired and lied and sent him to the other side of the globe to die as an economic venture. I'm surprised when they came home to a recession and PTSD and seeing them eating cake they didn't Marie Antoinette. I remember vividly that morning in September of 2001. Dick Cheney made a fortune on a company that manufactures weapons. Afghani oil, Ukrainian oil, Iranian oil. China wants Taiwan. Meanwhile, individual people just want love. This is really dumb. Our society's got a case of amnesia adjacent to a basement full of trauma, a closet full of skeletons, and a nose for finding trouble. It's a problem, 'cause most of us as individuals are just trying to raise our kids, pay the bills, and doing our best to cope with the past that gave you too, I'm sure, plenty of baggage you have to hold. Don't feel any personal responsibility of what all those politicized fools do though. Or over there on the other side of the coin turned over, so wrapped up in the political theater that they're ready to go to war with some third world country based off of second-hand accounts of the news and hearsay. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan twice. Next thing you know, they're gonna want us to go to space, cause some quote invader's gonna intervene on our World War III. So I don't buy what they sell or eat what they feed, and those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it. Drowsy, forgetful, perfect conditions with a maniac at the threshold. Ushering in panic and confusion to push the death toll. Pestilence, decay, and war on the ledger since the days of old. Bad influence from a phantom limb syndrome. Scratching an itchy trigger finger, cracking the crust of the earth open to squeeze in the bodies of those labeled as enmity. Though when burning in a pile, you can't tell the difference between people. A cartel selling death at our cost. For our sakes, need to change course for all's lost. Not a hot take on a cold case, more a curse that's yet to be staved off. Stuffed duffel bag in a Black Hawk, Team Rockets blasting off. It's a cast of cartoons that treat the community like a cash crop. Breed mad dogs of battle and rattle the global rag doll. Crash both a housing market and a plane for oil. Treat human like chattel. We're like pawns on a chessboard for them. They're like, go ahead and knock them over. Wealth would help the fruit of their bitter heart grow no larger. Despite the depths of their coffer, the angel of death does not accept any trade in their offer. Weigh your heart against a feather.
Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound, how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
I referenced Star Wars a couple times because it's been on my mind. Got an ad to join the Space Force, and I already know why. Dr. Stephen Greer warned us of the plan and design. Werner von Braun said it out loud right before he died. A long time ago, in a galaxy close to home, they made a Nazi scientist the head of NASA. That got me like, uh-oh. But then I realized the trajectory of folks awakening at this rate. I think that they ain't gonna go with the plot of the story, spoon-fed along. I, for sure, am not gonna pick up arms. Aliens ain't as alien as these crazy men tyrannically overlording. And for what reason again? So we can go hungry while they're throwing food away at the farm, watching it grow mold at the shelf at the grocery store. Still got us on ancient tech, still driving the 1886 car. If we keep on the fossil fuels, we'll be the next dinosaurs. All these degrading names they give to our friends that live in our own neighborhoods because we ain't the exact same as them. Shampoo and condition middle Americans to be ready to fight against something that they deem other. Independence Day, Star Wars, Alien vs. Predator, invasion propaganda, Hollywood in on the trouble. Problem is, when you look inward, really start to pop their bubble. Once you pick up the cues, their manipulative language don't seem so subtle. Ruin their business, because what they're selling, we ain't buying it. They try to lie and lie again, but when you're aligned with your inner truth, then you can see right through their scam. Disclosure for a new Gilded Age. Cover up our plastic garbage island up with a layer of gold and think they'll just slide this pile of poop onto our plate. No thanks.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted.
Of oppression. Tesla isn't a car, he was trying to grant you freedom from the petroleum messes. Remember, the better marketeer was the elephant killer Edison. Electromagnetic core of the earth we're not harnessing. That's because you're the crop they're harvesting. Nikola's mysterious death in his briefcase of papers, we don't know where it's at. Went poof like the guy who made a car run with water instead of gas. Went poof like the solid gold cap at the Great Pyramid. Used to be really sure it was a tomb, now they're like, we don't know what it is. Acting like we're blind. Yeah, right. The secrets of the Giza generator passed down to the Fourth Reich by a guy in a cloak without a name or face or any other defining features to describe inside the black cloud that shroud him in the middle of the night. Been going on for a long time. 1782, they put Pyramid's eye on the dollar sign. They drew an eagle with arrows and an olive branch, and the empire has been off to war ever since. Soldiers on the front line indoctrinated to believe they're any different from the human chattel in prison's modern slavery. Stockholders making more money off the money they swooped from you. Too big to fail, so they pull an 08 on the rubes. But if you don't pay your mortgage, they make sure your house you lose, that the banks don't pay any taxes on while they throw you out to the wolves. If you don't pay your taxes, they got a square box in the pen for you. But if you're in the Pentagon and $1 trillion on the ledger wrong, it's all cool. Oops, probably said too much. If the song ever got big, I might have to move to shush. Nah, what am I kidding? They know my Google searches. Thing I know, the secret to defeat them, my immutable purpose. The blood that's coursing through my veins, if they spill, would be the same water they would drown on coming down from the hills. The great deluge already came through. So now the only eye that's left to open is the third one on you. Social pyrite ain't philosophical gold. Out the mental hospital and into the hole. Become an economic unit for some untold corporate entity running entirely out of control. Now we got our own running of the bull. Into global China shop going full mechanical. The machine giving more personhood than those of actual flesh, blood, and bone. Sweat and tears here in the sweatshop that they own. They built a net outside the window, building a web inextricable where you suppose you have an option, but you really don't. Like what you gonna do with your back against that wall, superimposed over bills to pay, a family in need, who's gonna feed the little baby, and now your illusion of choice dissipates into the ether. May not always be clear, but they put a divot in the ground and now the rivers steer. They know the cause and the effect that they deliver here, and they gonna take you off the algorithm if you speak against without fear. But the wisdom of the cosmic algorithm's within you, so assalamu alaikum in your fight with Satan. It gets dangerous trying to climb your way out the matrix. Many agents crawling from the woodwork when you make shifts. The way to actually counter their obstinance is with patience. Consciousness on an eternal phase shift from rapidly gyrating into stasis and back into the expanse awakened. I pray you find your way. Struggle the same as the ancestors ancient, trying to deter the pain, or at least to curb with the turn of the phrase. On the way, figured out how to make magic as an organ and an eternal being. Are ya kidney, liver, stomach, bacteria, gallbladder? Detoxification on your way up heaven's step ladder. Densest matter is reached. Inevitably, the pendulum swings. An exploration into the depths needs its end. A return to the surface to eventually ascend. Beyond the highest previously achieved, once flung like a stone from David's sling. A pullback catapult that felt the weight of the fulcrum of man's darkest day. Parched, walking on the coals of hell, learned to appreciate the pools in heaven felt. An individualized journey through time where the fire and the flame purged away the slime and find the transfiguration into gold from base material as the spirit unfold. Unpleasant, I know, but there was always a reason you had to go through this whole ordeal, like akin to seal the mold. A destiny, not to under the pressure explode, but rather a glorious coming home. Aligned with the chorus of heavenly hosts, exclaiming your praise on that battle that day, to return to your source with knowledge and value that was gained, and apply it to others to alleviate their pain. The highest of saints do not immediately rise to the upper planes, but rather shine against the darkest backdrop, so that the other point to them and say that must be God. Interpreted differently depending on the receiver, but the divinity remains abundantly clear.
And now for some fun.
Uplift your energy.
No need to be afraid.
And now for some fun.
Everything is going to be okay. Thesis does not solve it all.
And now for some fun.
Uplift your energy.
Uplift your energy.
Everything is going to be okay.
Uplift your energy.
Thesis does not solve it all. Thesis does not solve it. Everything is going to be okay. No need to be afraid.
Uplift your energy.
Uplift your energy. And now for some fun.
No need to be afraid. Thesis does not solve it all.
as a wizard king. Thoth is symbolically portrayed as having the head of an ibis. For just as the bird uses its long beak to pull sustenance up from deep in the mud, Thoth is a bringer of knowledge that uplifts humanity from the darkness of its ignorance into periodic ages of enlightenment.
Such as the Golden Age of the Cat, the Greek classical era, and the European Enlightenment, to name just a few.
Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus Merlin, wizard with a scepter wrapped in serpents, with a flick of the wrist and some magic workings. Fit a gold cap on a pyramid perfect. Flash forward to a fuzzy timeline we write in cement with an official agreement rate of 100%. Dissenters find their way to the pit, get shown in if they don't align with the script. Whether university physicist or Egyptologist, either teach what you're taught or you're on a short trip to the blacklist. Do not rock the boat or you walk the plank and take a dip. Fight against it if you wish, but it's just what it is. Well, the mystical has never really been for the masses. They would do bad things to witches because they weren't Protestant or Catholic. It instilled a real fear because there's actual power in the craft, even if that salamander tale has a less palatable math. Cast old magic from a hat, draw sigils, feeding scraps to feral cats. Brew a stew that can cure you of any tangible ill. Growing herbs on the sill and cauldron it could capture your flag. Stride across valleys and cavernous gaps. Know the language of the giants. Put in a universal code patch. Knotted wood staff. Cast fire, no match. On tablets of emerald etched arcane secrets from the depths. The universe is a hermetically sealed chamber where the event horizon is like God's stomach lining. If you've ever heard from an angel, that's like when I was talking to my baby when she was in the belly of her mama. We're God's neurons firing off synapses as making billions and trillions of connections, each occupying our own individual universe. It just so happens in the moment and now they are connected. Infinite dimensions intersecting in the moment of the present. We're surfing on the waves of time cresting, trying to catch our footing. The universe really only out here to teach us zillions of lessons. Living in between two mirrors, the reflections keep multiplying as you keep on looking. That's the holographic principle. It goes as above, so below. Stars up in the heaven show tales told from long ago, resembling our molecules and subatomic particles. Archipelagos with fables of overflowing pots of gold from well over the yon rainbow. Prying ancient knowledge from some forgotten source. Dusty tomes and philosopher's stones. Druid used a stick to find out where the water flows. And meridians of Mother Earth, upon which found harmonically shaped pyramids across the globe. Megalithic temples were not built using those tools. That is illogical. It took more than dirt and rock and stone. We can't even replicate those techniques today. This attachment to the hypothesis of mundane, its strength is mythological. Like what you really get for having them all convinced that we know better now than we knew then, when their architecture still stands and obviously shows understandings of universal constant and golden ratios. Those histories we mostly write off as only myths because the historians are indigenous. Anunnaki in the land of Chem, Thoth is Hermes and Merlin. Two observers, electron double slit, can get results that are different, owing to the truth that everything that exists borders on the line of myth. Do not tell me your belief structure is objective fact. There is no such thing as that. Relativity of both space and time. What's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine.
The beauty and the scent of roses can be used as a medicine, and the sun rays as a food. Nikola Tesla.
Black hole mirror theory in orbit. Pull the ripcord, jump towards the vistas in store. Got a gift and a curse in the different distortions of mental waveforms in the vortex. In this reality, the physical manifestation requires an adequate energy source to sustain it. You eat food, fauna, fungi, or vegetation, and better, else soon meet your day's end. Pay tax on breathing to the order of caloric achievement. Net zero sum from the source of the being, mostly soil and sunlight, second, third, or fourth hand. You're not taking less life because you're consuming a plant. That's an egocentric view of life. For something to have equivalent value has to look like I or act like I. Still gotta absorb it or else I die. We only have a small portion but still want our piece of the pie. That spinach isn't more spiritual than the cow and less in the mind. That's how the structure is laid out. Then, once armed with the full ammunition of belief, any path of the seeker is both valid and equal. Whether vegan or full meat eater, if it's done for the spirit with a sense of thankfulness, the eating is down to be healing. Conversely, if it's strictly a transaction, soon the spirit-body balance loses traction. Your essence was not formed in a vacuum. Come from the expanse and going back soon. Gotta remember that too when you go please, just please, just please. A mantra on repeat. See anxiety breathing down our necks and deep when you have nothing to eat. Full belly, don't worry about a thing until too comfortable, then again mirror or bing. Surely you're a participant of the spectacular spectacle for a reason. Is it so off the deep end to see this intricately woven thread of breathing perfectly in sequence? Butterfly effect helped to keep it. Energy shift from Big Bang to double helix. And every time something died, fungi from the bone like Phoenix. And be like, you mean to tell me that all of this just randomly fits? That's a dogmatic belief structure. You're lying to yourself to call it science. I bet you've been traumatized just like I have when someone told you what God is. Go ahead and watch as spirit densifies into matter. That's a slow light process. Case in point, face the light, you can't stare too long. You and everybody that you know and love, inherent molecules formed on an exploding sun, still sell out of those dumb, flimsy little eclipse glasses when the moon covers perfectly like magic, as if it was crafted to keep the balance of the tides in the great procession. Sphinx looking out to the horizon, precisely at the sun rising in front of Leo on a spring equinox 35,000 something years back. And I'm out here paying some fucking electric company while the government hires suppressed technology. What a racket they got us running for them. Mile marker, mile marker, mile marker. See how you have gotten farther. Mile marker, mile marker. I look at the sun often around sunset with no glasses on, and don't blink for like 30 seconds. And yes, for the next minute my vision is affected, but bring out that eye doctor test with the letters. I can read the bottom with minimal errors. Why do you think you're gonna go blind is what they tell us. Expansion, a recession, and breathing in and out a lesson. Wavelength, amplitude, frequency, and effort. Consciousness critical to the setup. Time, rate, distance. Journey, quest, mission. A vision the spirit getting in this little intermission. What a blessing to receive the transmission. Not a prison. Spirit shining refracted light through a prism. Nearly infinite times until matter densifies into existence. Life is a system exemplified by the schism of the skin, but half of your pulmonaries outside growing in the dirt, and most lose their leaves in the winter. But no need to cower, got a flowering spring here. No need to sour, even the sweetest blackberry's thistle has a purpose in the grandiosity. Well-oiled machine, trying to move away from the petrol, cause shepherd sees dinner just the same as the wolves. Cover your eyes with a veil drawing wool over, but when antenna is aligned it doesn't do any good. Overpressurized system about to blow, so stick an accurate acupuncture needle in the vein of your foot. The smallest changes that you make can spiral out into the space. So do the best that you can with today, because butterfly effect of love is making its way. Moving through the madness where the murderous colonizers called the indigenous savage to justify plaguing them with indignities unimagined. Trail of tears, land grabbing, bloody hand backstabbing. Princess Onaniga had her godliness whitewashed, called Christian by her actions, but it was not what she professed. I do know that she's my 5 times great grandma, but only because of the European family that she married in. Don't know much about her parents, and the Ho-Chuk found out Winnebago was not just a car, but my ancestors' name taken in vain, so stuck in their chains that we don't know what to do when the freedom that reigns finally shows up. Poking its head out the foxhole where they're trying to whack-a-mole us, trying to calcify our division in this cold world, trying to fluoridate us through more wars than a doldrum. But I wasn't given the stacked deck of cards in my favor just to fold them. Don't pull a punch when they're throwing stones at our home in a glass fish bowl. Love is the linchpin that holds us up. Don't forget that that fact is critical, because it is the reason we have come. Speaking in tongues and beating on the drums. Defeated the beast before the battle even begun. I know the war's already been won. Love is the reason we have come, speaking in tongues and beating on the drums. Defeated the beast before the battle even begun. This war's already been won.
I've been having some weird dreams lately.
Perceived to elapsed and so believed, and in so being. Yet there's another depth to the dimension that one cannot experience through the sensory. The light is a second late through the eye's receptors, but synchronized perfectly with an alighted heart. So we call them an enlightened being. It just happens. It flowers. It's not something that one can actively try to achieve, yet the seed sown grows when watered properly within the season. Time. What a beautiful, wonderful, terrible mystery. Master oneself, and there's no other option besides the dream's mastery.
I've been having some weird dreams lately.
I've been having some weird dreams lately.
Weird dreams lately.
Heart taking flight to remind you what you know, to make a bright light from darkest night of the soul. That's what the alchemist meant by turning lead into gold. Pressurized and making diamonds out of coal. Inner peace can only be relinquished, it cannot be stole. Externalization, a power principle. In the principalities, they have a deep hold, but their magic trick just an illusion that you can unfold. If moving towards truth is the goal, then it's inevitable. Out in the cold until the higher self rose. Out of the dream's murky waters, the beautiful lotus flower grows. Climbing to heights unknown at the golden pinnacle. Don't get distracted if they don't. Time is relative to the experiential. Don't get discouraged by the whole show. Inner pursuit is where you must go. What you're seeking cannot be bought and it cannot be sold. They trying to rock you to sleep when they lull, trying to get you black holed by the gravitational pull. But remember, the journey is your own and you are the hero.
I've been having some weird dreams lately.
I've been having some weird dreams lately. Having some weird dreams lately.
Time again and time again this cycle has completed itself and rebirthed as new. However, this is only based upon our linear understanding of this development. There are those that are beyond the demiurge of time and space that observe it all as now. Just as a three-dimensional object casts a two-dimensional shadow, these forces, both benevolent and malevolent, cast a three-dimensional shadow from higher planes, when and where it is most advantageous for their individual motives.
Energy cannot be destroyed, it only transforms. You occupy a body energetically moving forward. What's the direction you are heading towards? Where are you going, and have you been there before? Angels, ghosts, and aliens, no need to be scared. Deeper dimensions of existence wanting to be shared. At 90 degrees from everything that we hold dear. Angelic hope helping you to see clear. I pray you move with peace, blood through the veins, meridians rule the chi. Don't stare too long at the base of the beast, else soon too your reflection you will see. Holographic universe is the university. That means all within the one within everything expanding. Focus is the direction that you will soon be growing. Be sure you're happy with the seeds that you are sowing. I hate you plants grow warps, but still more than the ignored. Find your own sunshine and then go towards it. Fusion makes more energy from the good company than splitting the atom. That's the vision of enmity. Even greater than either is your 0-point inheritance from the ether, but you gotta look much closer and your vision must be clear. Steer not in the direction that you don't wanna go. Heartbeat, keep your own individualized tempo.
Be not afraid, so say the turning wheel survives, inflamed with righteousness. Be not afraid.
Thank you for listening to my story. Winding as it was, I leave you here again from whence we first started. In your life. The temporary distraction that was this record is over. Now the real work is once again beginning. How do you be? How do you be happy? And how do you be good? In an environment which, as we have gone over, is riddled with obstacles and course changes, and a seemingly bottomless well of enemies both straightforward and filled with secrecy. It also seems that these enemies are within each concentric ring of our society and posted at the gates at each level up. From family and close friends up to communities, nations, our society as a whole. For some, it feels as if everyone is an enemy. But I would offer an alternative perspective, complete with your own way out via personal responsibility. All the theys and thems out there do not control your individual self. Your actions and emotions are your own, regardless of how the outside world influences them. Equivalently, so too our pathway through time is our own. Entirely dictated by the buoyancy of our own vibratory state, which is a cumulative energy from our physical and mental forms, uplifted, supported, and directed by our spirit. Whether or not this or that war happens, or whichever conspiracy spirals out into chaos in front of you or behind the scenes, is yes, actually your responsibility, just not how it seems. It is not your responsibility to conquer the capitalist empire. You are not commissioned to deconstruct colonialism or rewrite all the alternate world histories to clear your way back to the truth. Sure, should that be your calling, then it may be the narrative and storyline through which your journey unfolded, but how everything went, that had a lot more to do with what you chose to think and eat, what you put into your body and mind, what you chose to say and do and why. What choice did you make when it seemed like nobody would see or know the difference? All of these quote end quote insignificant things are precisely what influence your energetic structure, which then directly translate to your buoyancy through time. As you get bogged down, you find that this world is your own personal hell. And as you rise up to your potential, the exact same world becomes your own personal heaven. We all share this world right now, but in every moment, some of us go up a little and some a little down, coming in and out of our bandwidth of time, your bandwidth of time. There are deep darknesses that are still within the bandwidth that we share. That means I have some work to do and you do too. But as the road we share now has many winding estuaries that will eventually lead back to the ocean of our source, be careful first of the devils within. Your demons are the only ones that you have been sent here to wrestle with. If you find a reflection outwardly that shows you something you despise, let that be a message to yourself that there is more to be done. So yes, go deconstruct global and galactic imperialism, but also be nice to the people around you. Your wife and children are a lot more affected by your actions than any draconian brick mason or illuminated one. Care about your body, food, and mind, and most importantly, boldly go where no one else may, and that is within your own conscious and psyche. If you're wrapped up in the external narrative and ignore the internal circumstances which are stirred therefrom, all the theys and thems out there have already won, because as soon as the issue is externalized, your focus is entirely wrapped up in the drama of the story instead of the solution, which is you. Now, go do the dishes. Eat a veggie, hug your kid, play a game outside, and enjoy your very limited time in this life. This is the true disclosure that we need for our new Gilded Age to become our new golden one. Thank you.
Working in your favor. Each one of us has a legion of angels celebrating when you take a little time to be grateful. Even when God delegating work to the devil, it's still a lesson for you to learn with the pressure you're under. Remember, a diamond was in aligned carbon molecules at first. Got more than one obstacle in the course, but keep it moving forward to finish an amazing job you did for your family and friends and whole earth by extension. Devas and Asuras in a tug of war, but it's all pretend. A theatrical play to help the soul ascend. Pinnacle is led to gold, sunrise from darkest night that pulled you in. Whether Sri Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, or Shiva Shambho, each is just a hand to hold to get you where you gotta go. It's the devotion internal that points you to the source. It's the love that flows from what you know, or believe that you know. Who even knows? I'm just grateful we get a chance to expand like the force that went from Big Bang to external expanse to the whole universe that God holds in its hands. It's a smaller fractal observed if you see it as Sir Man, but that's okay. Either way, they'll lend a little help in a jam. Understand? God doesn't damn, that's a scam. Talk to God really often about a knock on the door and see if they want to play some kickball on the court. Red and blue hockey sticks, let's pretend that they're swords and fight off all the monsters on the block like a sport. Kinda sorta got a direct line to the source, and you can find it too, but then it's gonna be divinely yours instead of mine, and that's fine if they aren't of the same sort. Namasakram in all of its forms. Namasakram means I bow to the divine that's within you. Love my little baby and her mama, and it's easy to see that they don't need to be perfect to me. We're all learning to be, not a lecture, it's a sermon. Holy Spirit, tongue of fire burning deep in the cheek. Lil one teaches me philosophy and how to move to the beat. All I do is change her diapers and her pukey onesies. That's a trait that I take every single day of the week for 365 for 100 years plus 3. That's a shout out to great grandma Noni, ancestors so proud of both what and how we're doing. They're standing by your shoulder when you feel like you're weak. We're sending them energy when you use responsibility. When you hear the spark in your heart, write it down. The best project, the one you're working on right now. The best life, the one that you've chosen to live. Listen to the heart that goes beat, beat in your chest. Yes. More than just a couple chords in a loop. It's a guiding light towards a fundamental source of truth, which may or may not make a fortune for you, but that doesn't make it any less important to do. It's more than just a couple chords in a loop. It's the sound of your heartbeat and the blood coursing through, shortening the distance between the big source and you. Fortunate to even get a little portion to use.